But having a concussion now and whiplash has also made me like very aware of injuries that are unseen. To the rest of the world, I look perfectly fine. And there are things related to mental health or something like grief or all like different things like that that everyone is carrying around that you cannot see. And I've just thought a lot about that as I'm like navigating concussion symptoms. And I kind of try to make a joke out of it, like I'll joke about it or whatever. But I seriously like am, mixing up letters and can't spell things and like there are other things like going on and it's very unnerving at times. But how do you just talk about that stuff? Because there's also this perception that it's because it's not visible, it must not be real. Do you know what I mean?
1,000%. There's probably also a little bit of science behind that, right? Where, as humans, you try to hide weakness or illness or injury or to appear as if you're fine.
Yeah, only the
Um,
strong survive kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Evolution. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm convinced that Bentley was hiding how sick he was from us. And for those of you who don't know, that's my dog that passed away. I think there's real science behind why that happens, and it has to do with all of the things that are just part of our brains. To hide weakness, hide illness, be strong.
If if we think about all the things like we want or we hope for, for the future, it is a little bit fighting against those sort of evolutionary things, though.
Mhm.
I think that makes it harder.
Mhm.
I'd love to say, like, well, I think some of it's, generational, yada, yada. But when I think about, I mean, my parents, my mom in particular, who was very, very much a hippie, she would have talked about her version of wanting those sorts of things for the future. It's maybe not to the same extent as we see it today. Like, I think we've pushed the envelope further than that generation did in the 60s. But the basic principles, I think, are pretty similar.
I think they are too. And it to your point about it being it's you're challenging biology. There's a reason why this work is hard. You're trying to reverse engineer like what is human nature, to have an ego, to
Yeah.
have these forms of protection, psychological, physical, however you want to describe it. We have to keep pushing that in order for us to be able to get to this point where we're more understanding and able to hold space. The work that you and I do, like day in and day out, we see it like the more prevalent that the ego is and the more that it is controlling the situation, the harder it is to solve.
And the more people lock into those things, it's funny. I was talking with, she's a three. I was talking with a three earlier this week whenever it was. And she was talking about this sort of feeling, this sort of shift within her team. She feels like it's getting better and things are getting better, but there's still this sort of stuff bubbling under the surface that's like not quite there yet. And she described it as it's like everyone knows it's better, but then they would have to say it's better or admit to themselves it's better. And that does, and then they feel like they're invalidating themselves and they don't want to be wrong. And so do we keep stirring the pot of it's not actually better? we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, blah, 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 that kind of thing, because we don't want to prove ourselves wrong from how we felt before. I thought that was super interesting, right? Is that one of the kind of things that has to go when you're working on an ego death is that rigidity of you gotta allow yourself to be wrong. And it's okay. Like, it doesn't mean anything about you. You have to be
Yeah.
allowed, you need to be able to change your mind. I do think there are numbers that can be a little more mentally flexible than others.